Welcome back. It's time to start a class guide video series now that we finally have our hands on early access. And what better way to start than with the Life Domain Cleric? If you like being the life of the party, literally, then this class is for you. I'm going to go over building your Life Domain Cleric and character creation, and then show examples of and talk about everything that you gain as you level up. The current level cap is level 4 in early access. This video turned out to be much more in-depth than I expected and much longer, but hopefully some of you guys do find value in it. Before we get started, I want to give a shout out to some recent channel members: Rob Coleman, Abel Francis, Daniel Solly, Jason Ray, Pop Pone, Sweet Gamer 83, Jake McVicar, Christopher Scott, Inconspicuous Toaster, Steve McLaughlin, Hugo Lamon, Zach R, Rofo Cal, Giles Bodie, Redis 404, and Dude 34. And there's some others that I gotta thank in the next video. Thank you guys so much and welcome to the channel. Links to my Twitter and my Discord server will be below. Let's get right into it. Clerics are spellcasters, and their primary spellcasting ability is Wisdom. The higher your Wisdom modifier, which increases by 1 every 2 points that you invest into the Wisdom ability, the more power will be behind your Cleric's spells. For many of the healing spells, your Wisdom modifier will be directly added to the amount that the spell heals for. An example would be Cure Wounds, which is showing a 1d8 plus 3, and that plus 3 is our Wisdom modifier. For spells that you use on your enemies, some of them will require your opponents to make a saving throw in an attempt to resist or mitigate the effects. An example would be a spell called Command, which specifies that your opponent must make a Wisdom saving throw to attempt to resist being halted. The number that your enemy has to tie or beat with their saving throw is your spell save DC number, which is 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your Wisdom modifier. Other spells you use might specify that they are ranged or melee attacks, such as Guiding Bolt. In this case, you'll be doing an attack roll to see if you hit or miss your target, instead of the enemy rolling to resist. And if you're successful in your attack roll, the damage that the spell specifies will then be dealt. Your proficiency bonus and Wisdom modifier will be added to your attack roll. As you can see, you really want to give your Cleric, regardless of your subclass choice, the highest Wisdom modifier that you can get in character creation. The max that you can manually make an ability score in character creation is 15, but if you choose a race that offers a +1 Wisdom boost, which currently includes Wood Elves, Humans, and Gold Dwarves, you can get your Wisdom ability score to 16, giving you that sweet +3 Wisdom modifier right away at character level 1. Constitution is another important ability for your Life Domain Cleric. The most obvious reason is that your Constitution modifier is added to your base HP each level, and you really want your Cleric to be able to stay alive to keep others alive. Another reason a higher Constitution modifier is very important is that many of your Cleric spells are going to require concentration for the duration of the spell. Concentration is your ability to keep a spell up and running for multiple turns, such as a buff to your party. When an enemy attacks you, if you're concentrating on a spell, you will be forced to do a Constitution saving throw. And if you fail in that, the spell you're concentrating on will come to an end. A higher Constitution modifier gives you more of a chance for succeeding in those Constitution saving throws, so you're likely going to want at least a +2 Constitution modifier, maybe a +3 if you can get it there. The third ability score that most Clerics in this subclass will go for will be Strength. As a Life Domain Cleric, you'll have proficiency in heavy armor, and many of your spells might require you to be close to your party members on the front lines. Wielding a strength-based melee weapon can work great, and I find myself using my weapon attack quite a lot with my Cleric. Getting your Strength modifier to a +1 or a +2 can really help you dish out some more damage, as well as increase your jump distance, which can be useful for when you need to get to a party member. You can certainly do a dexterity build Cleric, such as one that uses a crossbow. Just keep in mind what armor you want to wear and what weapons your character has proficiency in. The other abilities that you want to invest into are really up to you. If you do go with a strength build Cleric, you might want to get your dexterity up a little bit, for it will help with your initiative roll for combat, and also help with dexterity saving throws. Intelligence and charisma can help with many skills in the game that you might choose. Skills that are associated with the Wisdom ability, which are Insight, Medicine, Animal Handling, Perception, and Survival, are going to be the skills that you're most likely to succeed at, for you will get your wisdom modifier and proficiency bonus added to those ability skill checks. Playing as a cleric allows you to choose insight and medicine right away. Your racial choice might offer you another skill, and your background choice will give you 2 more skills. Right away in character creation, we're choosing the Life Domain subclass, which offers spells that protect and restore the mind, body, and soul. You also get a deity choice, and you can choose whichever deity you would like to worship. It doesn't have an effect on the class itself as far as I can tell in early access. It does, however, affect some dialogue situations in the game, so do your research as to if you want to worship a good or evil god. I went with Baal, the Lord of Murder, with my Life Cleric. How ironic. As a cleric in general, right away you will choose 3 cantrips from a list of 5, and when you reach level 4 you will choose 1 more of these. For those of you who do not know, cantrips are spells that you can cast at will. They do not require the use of a spell slot. The first cantrip is called Guidance, and this cantrip can be super useful if you can remember to cast it. Guidance will give you or whomever you cast it on a bonus d4 to add to an ability check of your choice. Before going into dialogue, you should cast Guidance, and then when an ability check pops up, you get to add a d4 to your roll, which greatly increases your chances or whomever you cast it on for getting the rolls that you want. Guidance requires concentration and lasts up to 10 turns, which is 1 minute of in-game time if you're not in turn-based mode. If you forget to cast it on a party member before they enter into dialogue, you can switch to your cleric, cast Guidance, and then they will be given that random bonus of +1, 2, 3, or 4 to their ability check. It's a really useful cantrip if you like getting your way with ability check rolls. The next cantrip is called Light, and I found some great uses for this one. With Light, you can infuse an object with an aura of light. There's many objects in the game that you can light up, so when you're out in a dark dungeon, you can walk up to objects and light up the room. Enemies now will not be able to hide in the shadows as easily if they're near the light. You can also cast light on party members' weapons, which will help you and them see better while moving if you don't have dark vision. Casting light on weapons in the current build of the game does not seem to actually affect your own party's hidden condition, so you can still hide with light on, but this might change in the future. However, it does affect an enemy's hidden condition, so if there's an enemy obscured by shadows, if you're within touch range and have light on your own weapon, or even better, maybe you can cast light on the enemy's weapon, they will no longer be able to be obscured by shadows, making it easier for some of your party members to land shots on them. The third cantrip is called Resistance, which gives a creature a d4 bonus to saving throws. This is another useful one if you can remember to cast it. Put Resistance on the party member who is doing the scouting ahead, so if an unexpected trap goes off, they might be able to avoid it, or give it to a party member that is about to try and navigate a known trap. The fourth cantrip choice is called Sacred Flame, which is an offensive cantrip that deals 1d8 radiant damage. The opponent you cast this on is required to do a dexterity saving throw to resist the spell. And unfortunately, many enemies that we come across in early access, such as goblins, have good dexterity, and it can be hard to actually land this spell at times. However, there are some enemies that it works good on, and this is the only damage dealing cantrip that we currently have access to with the cleric, so I recommend picking it up. Just use it wisely and don't waste your action on high dexterity enemies. Instead, use your weapon attack or a different spell. The last choice for cantrips is called Thaumaturgy, which grants you advantage on intimidation and performance skill checks. This is the one I'd likely skip out on until they add more benefits to it, for you can cast Guidance, which is much more broad. You get to choose 3 of these cantrips, so currently I would pick up Guidance and Sacred Flame, and then it's up to you if you want Light or Resistance. But I would recommend Light, for it is a lot of fun and has turned out very useful for myself. Remember, at level 4 you get to pick up 1 more of these cantrips. Now on to the spells, but first let's quickly go over spell slots. Spell slots are kind of like your mana pool to cast spells. At Cleric level 1, you will have only 2 level 1 spell slots, so you can cast 2 Cleric spells before needing to take a long rest at camp. As you level up, you'll gain more spell slots, and at Cleric level 3 you get access to level 2 spell slots, allowing you to cast level 2 spells, as well as upcast many of your level 1 spells for greater power. When you reach the early access level cap of 4, you'll have 4 level 1 spell slots and 3 level 2 spell slots. So you can essentially cast 7 spells before needing a long rest. It is important to keep an eye on and manage your use of these as a cleric so you don't run out and end up needing to cast a heal but not having a spell slot. In early access, it doesn't seem to be too hard to manage these, for after almost every combat encounter you can go to camp and regain your spell slots back. But when the official game launches, it will likely require you to be more careful when casting spells, so practice your use of them in early access. Clerics use prepared spells, which means you'll prepare a limited amount of spells for each day from a cleric's spell list, which are called your known spells. The spells you do not choose to prepare you cannot use while out adventuring on that given day, until you go to camp for a long rest and prepare them for the next day. The amount of spells that you can prepare is dependent on your wisdom modifier plus your cleric's level, like we said earlier. And with a +3 wisdom modifier and character creation at level 1, we get to prepare 4 level 1 spells from a list of 8. Don't stress out too much over what spells to choose because you can switch them out at camp, so have some fun with it. As a life domain cleric specifically, you also get 2 spells from that cleric spell list that will be prepared for you at all times and do not count against the 4 that you can prepare each day. The first of these 2 spells is called Bless, and this is a very good support spell. With Bless, you can bless up to 3 creatures, giving them a d4 bonus to attack rolls and saving throws. This spell does require concentration and can potentially stay active for 10 full turns in combat if you're able to maintain that concentration. Giving a d4 bonus to attack rolls to yourself and 2 other party members, or just your other party members, will make them much more likely to land their attacks on your opponents. This is a big boost and will certainly make a difference in your overall success. The 3 chosen blessed creatures will also get that d4 bonus to saving throws, so if any spells come your way that require saving throws, your party stands a much better chance of resisting them. Use this spell often and before combat starts if possible. If you know you're about to be in a combat situation, enter into turn-based mode before entering combat, cast Bless, and then engage in combat. If you don't activate turn-based mode, Bless's full duration will drain in 60 seconds, so entering turn-based mode will allow you to cast it, take your time to set up your party, and then engage. I use this spell for almost every situation. The other spell is called Cure Wounds, which reads as, a creature you touch regains 1d8 plus your wisdom modifier hit points. The key word here is a creature that you touch. This can be a powerful heal, but you have to be close to whomever you wish to cast it on, and you can heal yourself. Stay within movement distance of your party, and this spell will save lives. One more very important thing that I want to mention before we go any further is that your healing spells can be used to get up a downed creature, and not only will it get them back in the fight, but it will also heal them up a bit. When you help up a downed friendly with the help action, they stand up with 1 HP and are oftentimes killed right after. With the cleric's healing spells, you can get them up with some decent HP, giving them a much better chance for being able to get back into the fight. So that's the 2 spells that you'll always have prepared as a life domain cleric. Now back to the cleric's prepared spells. So we get to prepare 4 of these 8 spells each day. The first thing we have to keep in mind is what spells require concentration, for you can only have one of those active at a time. So if you use Bless like we just talked about, you can't use any other concentration spells unless you end Bless. So sometimes you want to prepare spells that will work with each other and not end each other. The first spell we can prepare is called Bane, which is similar to Bless, but it's a debuff to the enemy. Target up to 3 creatures, giving them a d4 penalty to attack rolls and saving throws. Casting Bane on enemies forces them to do a charisma check to attempt to resist it, so this spell is better left for enemies that have lower charisma, mostly non-humanoid creatures. Since this spell requires concentration, you can't use Bless on your party at the same time. Keep in mind that Bless is guaranteed to buff your chosen party members, while Bane gives the enemy a chance to resist. For the most part, I would stick with Bless until you get a deep understanding of situations that Bane might benefit you more in, such as if you really need to land a specific spell on an enemy, or if you're fighting an enemy that has multiple attacks and is much stronger than you, Bane might benefit you more than Bless on your party in those situations. I won't get too much into that in this video. The other spells that require concentration from the cleric's level 1 spell list are Protection from Good and Evil and Shield of Faith. Both can be great spells, but once again they will compete with other concentration spells, so you have to know when it's worth it to use them. Shield of Faith gives a creature a +2 to armor class, which can really make one of your higher armor class party members super hard to hit. Cast this on your frontline tanky damage dealer and watch them stand their ground for insane amounts of time. Protection from Good and Evil is a buff to you or a party member that gives disadvantage to creatures of these specific types that attack the party member that you put Protection from Good and Evil on. This will really help with survivability for that party member, but it's definitely situational, and I would only prepare it when you know that you can actually make use of it. If you're surrounded by undead and you're the only party member alive, cast it on yourself and watch as you take them all down. The rest of these spells do not require concentration and can be used while your cleric has a concentration spell up and running. One of the best spells for all clerics is Guiding Bolt, and this is a spell that will really help out with your party's damage. Even though you're playing a more support-based character, sometimes one-shotting or doing high damage to an enemy is more of a help in the overall combat situation than actually using a support spell. Guiding Bolt deals 4d6 radiant damage and grants advantage on the next attack against the target. This is great damage for level 1, and it increases when you gain access to level 2 spells. Definitely pick this spell up and don't be afraid to use it. Healing Word is another spell that you definitely want to keep prepared as a Life Domain Cleric. This is your distance heal, and even though it doesn't do as much as the Cure Wounds spell, it is very useful, for you're not always going to be able to get close to party members who need a heal. This spell gets even better when you realize that it costs a bonus action and not an action, so you can actually cure wounds on a party member using up your action in a spell slot, and then use Healing Word in the same turn on another party member that is further away. Doing this will use up 2 spell slots, but sometimes you have to do it, and it has saved my party many times. You can even do damage with Guiding Bolt, and then get off a heal with Healing Word all in the same turn. This is a spell that you should always have prepared as a Life Domain Cleric, in my opinion. The other 3 spells that you have the option to prepare are Command Halt, which prevents a creature from moving or taking actions if they fail a Wisdom saving throw. This can certainly be useful, but it only lasts 1 turn, and I typically use other party members for more of the battlefield control stuff. Create Water is another spell we can choose to prepare, and I recommend preparing it to see what it's capable of. It can wipe surfaces clean, and of course kill fire that might be burning you. If you combine it with a wizard's lightning spells, it can be a deadly combination. It's a good support and combo spell to keep in mind. The last spell you can prepare at level 1 is called Inflict Wounds. This is a powerful spell that deals 3d10 necrotic damage. If you want to be on the front lines and able to quickly dispatch the enemy that moves up to you, consider having this spell prepared. So out of all of these spells, I would say Guiding Bolt and Healing Word are the 2 spells that you should definitely prepare. Everything else, have a little fun with and play around. That's it for the spells and cantrips for level 1. Now let's quickly go over the other class features, and then get into what you get as you level up to level 2, 3, and 4. As a cleric, you'll start off with 8 hit points, plus whatever your constitution modifier is. Each level you'll gain 5 more hit points and also add your constitution modifier. You'll have proficiency in wisdom and charisma saving throws, light and medium armor, shields, and simple weapons. Look to your racial choice to gain proficiency in more powerful weapons, such as playing a dwarf and gaining the battle axe proficiency, or the warhammer proficiency. As the Life Domain Cleric specifically, you'll also get heavy armor proficiency, and you'll get an amazing passive called Disciple of Life, which gives you a boost to your healing spells, where your target will regain additional hit points equal to 2 plus the spell's level. This is another reason as to why the Life Domain Cleric is easily the best healer. When you reach level 2, you'll gain another level 1 spell slot, allowing you to cast 3 spells each day, and you should now be able to prepare 5 spells. Level 2 is when you gain Channel Divinity, which is going to have 2 different uses. Using Channel Divinity will not use up a spell slot, but it will use up your action for the turn, and you can only use a Channel Divinity effect once per short or long rest until later levels. One of the Channel Divinity effects that all clerics get is called Turn Undead, which is where each undead that can see or hear you is forced to flee from you for up to 3 turns. This can be really useful when you find yourself in a room with undead surrounding you and your party. It can really help you set yourself up better for the situation. As a Life Domain Cleric, you'll also get the channel divinity effect called Preserve Life, which is like an AoE heal that will heal hit points up to 3 times your cleric's level to each of your party members. This can be very helpful, especially when you need to heal multiple allies, or if you've already run out of spell slots and you still have your channel divinity. Upon reaching level 3, you now have unlocked 2 level 2 spell slots, giving you access to level 2 spells on the cleric spell list. Level 2 spells cannot be cast with a level 1 spell slot, but level 1 spells you can cast using a level 2 spell slot, and many times they become much more powerful by doing so, such as with Cure Wounds, Guiding Bolt, and Healing Word. The 4 level 2 spells that have been added to our cleric spell list are Blindness, which will blind a creature for up to 10 turns. They have to make a successful Constitution saving throw to shake off the effect. This spell can be pretty good if you're looking for more battlefield control spells. Hold Person, which paralyzes a humanoid creature for up to 10 turns if the creature fails a Wisdom saving throw. To break away, the creature must succeed on a Wisdom saving throw, and remember that your spell save DC with a good Wisdom modifier will be fairly high, so enemies with lower Wisdom might have a real hard time breaking free from this. This spell does require concentration, but it can really help temporarily restrain an enemy combatant. It's a good spell, and I recommend giving it a try, or saving it for emergencies if you know you'll be fighting humanoid creatures. Prayer of Healing is also a level 2 spell that you can now prepare, and it's a powerful AoE heal. However, you cannot use it during combat. The way Baldur's Gate 3 Early Access is now, it's very easy to go to your camp and take a long rest, which restores all of your party's hit points when not in combat. So I would say you don't really need this spell right now, but probably in the future if Larian tweaks the resting system and makes it harder for us to go to camp as often, it'll be much more useful. The last level 2 spell you can prepare is called Silence, which creates a sphere where objects within are silenced and immune to thunder damage. This can be used offensively or defensively depending on the situation. I have only used it offensively to prevent an enemy mage from being able to cast spells at me. However, if in the future I come across an enemy that deals some serious thunder damage, I might have to make sure that I have this spell prepared. At level 3 as a Life Domain Cleric specifically, you also get 2 more level 2 spells that will always be prepared, just like Bless and Cure Wounds are level 1 spells that are always prepared for us. Lesser Restoration removes 1 disease or condition afflicting a creature. This can certainly help a party member that is suffering from something such as blindness, and if you're close to the creature you can be their savior and get them back in the fight. The other spell that you'll get that will always be prepared is called Aid, which I have found great use for. Aid heals your party for 5 hit points, and it also raises each of your party members' hit points maximum to 5 more. I have been casting Aid before fights to raise my party's max HP by 5, which definitely helps in these earlier levels. And that's it for level 3. At level 4, you get to choose another cantrip, and of course the amount of spells you can prepare will go up, and you'll get more spell slots as well. At this level, you'll either increase one of your ability scores by 2, or 2 ability scores by 1, or you can forego this ability score improvement for the choice of a feat. Feats are extra features that your character can get. An example is you can choose Magic Initiate and get an extra level 1 spell slot, learn 2 cantrips and a first level spell. This sounds pretty good and can be fun, but I would recommend taking the ability score improvement and boosting your wisdom up to 18 to get that +4 modifier, which greatly helps with many important spells of yours. Since level 4 is the level cap in early access, that's all you'll be able to experience with the Life Domain Cleric, but there are many other great class features that we'll see on the official launch of the game. There will also likely be updates throughout early access to the Cleric class, and we'll probably see more spells on the Cleric spell list and stuff like that. And the last thing I'll quickly go over is how I play my Life Domain Cleric. I found the most success from positioning my Cleric behind the frontline damage dealers, but not as far back as the backline ranged party members. This way I have easy access to all party members, and when needed I can get close to enemies to show them my axe. Since many important spells do require concentration, I also look to find cover to where I can get my cleric out of the enemy's line of sight to prevent that constitution saving throw from even happening, but it doesn't always work out as planned. This is a great class for those of you who love to take care of your party, and if you're playing multiplayer, your friends will forever be in your debt. And that's it for the Life Domain Cleric guide. Hopefully this wasn't too long. In the future, I'm going to try to make the videos a bit shorter. This took forever to edit and create, but I'm happy that I got it done. Any of you guys that have been playing this type of cleric, please let me know your opinions below in the comments. It's always great to hear about other players' experiences. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. I really appreciate it. It's a huge help to my videos. I do all sorts of content on this channel, ranging from live streams to game reviews to game tutorials and much more. I'd love to have some of you guys back for a future video. Maybe catch some of you guys on a future live stream. Until next time.